Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let's chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnupadaya, Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, 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 Hare जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता as it is की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam for all session. Today is Monday, so we'll be learning a new verse. Let's see what is the next verse. So the last one that we memorized was Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, text 54. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhaktya Tvananyaya Shakya Aham Vedo Aham evam vidorjuna gyatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, it is only by undivided devotional service that I can be understood as I am standing before you and can thus be seen directly. Only by this can one enter into the mysteries of my understanding. That was 11:54. Then the next one is, I think it's 55, but let me just check. (11:32), 11:33, 11:54. Oh, that's all. 11:54. Actually, there's no Sri Bhagavan Vaja. It's directly Bhaktyatvananya Shakya. So the next verse, we're going to chapter 12. Chapter 12, text 1. So we're really racing now. We memorized all verses, all the memorization verses of 11 chapters. So we are entering into chapter 12. So today's verse is 12:1. Chapter 12 is entitled Devotional Service. 12:1. Please repeat after me. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satatayuktaye Bhaktastvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satatayuktaye Bhaktastvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satatayuktaye Bhaktastvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Arjun asks this question again and again. He asks at the beginning of third chapter in a different way, right? Jnana and activity. Then again at the beginning of fifth chapter, again he says, why you are asking me to do this if jnana is better, right? Then now in the 12th chapter, Arjuna is asking again, which is better, worshipping the impersonal Brahman or rendering devotional service? And again in the 13th chapter, I think Arjuna asks, so Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? So now you can recite the verse. 1 minute. So those who want to go first can raise your hands. Arunita and Aditya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktyastam Paripashate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Shayam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. Translation. Arjuna inquired, those who are considered to be more perfect, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktastam Paryupasate Ye Chapi Aksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Achintadev Prabhu.
He is not yet ready, I think, Mataji.
Okay. So, Isha.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktasvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Krishna Shish.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Sadata Yukta Ye Bhaktastvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Madhava.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktasvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesam Ye Yoga Vittamaha. Which are inquired, which I consider to be more perfect? Those who are always engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested.
Rasapriya.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktastam Paripashate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. Arjuna inquired, what are considered to be more perfect? Which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Lokesh.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktasvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesam Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Thank you, Mataji. Lokesh will do last one.
Okay. Usha Mataji and Medha.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktastvam Pradayupasate Yachapi Aksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Translation. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Thank you, Mataji. Medha will do, Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye भक्तस्त्वं पर्युपासते यशाप्यक्षरम् अव्यक्तं तेषां के योगवित्तमः. Translation. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in devotional service. One second.
Yeah.
Oh. Or those who are interested in the unmanifested Brahman. Sorry, Mataji, our screen, something happened. We couldn't
Okay.
read. Yeah.
So she's going to read again, Meda, the
Yeah,
translation.
Oh, come back, Mataji. We'll probably have to log off and log in again.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Priyanka Haripriya Mataji. Priyanka Haripriya Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Mataji.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktastvām Pariyupasate Ye Chapya Akshara Bhavyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Saujanya Mataji and Prajna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranams, all goes to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to the assembled devotees.
Dandavad Pranam Mataji.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktasvam Pariyupasate Echapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Prajna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satya Yukta Ye Bhaktasvam Pariyupasate Ye Chapi Aksharam Avikaram Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect than those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship in the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. Meda.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satata Yukta Ye Bhaktasvam Pariyupasate Yachapiyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Translation. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Yeah. Inba Inia Jai Shri Mataji Jai Ganesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Inia.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Sata Yukta Ye Bhaktasvam Pariyupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Mataji, they all are not here. Mataji.
Nobody's there. Okay, fine. So did anyone not recite? Everyone has recited. Let's read. Lokesh, yes.
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yuktaye Bhaktasvam Pariyupasate Ye Chapi Aksharam
Aksharam.
Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, those who worship the impersonal Brahman, they are manifested. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, did everyone recite?
Mataji, I can recite.
Yes, Achintadev Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat. Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Evam Satata Yuktaye
Evam Satata Yuktaye
BhaktastvamParyupasate
BhaktastvamPariyupasate
Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam
Ya Chapya Aksharam Avyaktam
Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamah.
Tesam Ke Yoga Viktamaha. Translation. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in devotional service or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's read Srimad Bhagavatam now. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 11. We're reading about what happened after Lord Ramchandra began ruling the earth as the emperor. So we saw how Lord Ramchandra's brothers Bharat conquered over the Gandharvas and brought a lot of wealth and gave it to Lord Ramchandra. Shatrughna fought with the demon Lavana, and Lavana used to live in the forest Madhuvan. So after defeating Lavanasura, Shatrughna established the city called Mathura in Madhuvan. Also we saw how once Lord Ramchandra went in disguise to see what people were talking about him, and he heard one washerman speaking ill about Sita Devi to his wife. So he said something like, you know, you went to another man's house, you are polluted, I cannot accept you, I cannot maintain you as your husband anymore. I'm not a henpecked husband like Lord Ramchandra, who took his wife even though she was in another man's house for 1 year. And Lord Ramchandra heard this. Then what did Lord Ramchandra do? Yes, Sukadev Goswami says that those who have a poor fund of knowledge and who have, who are, what is the word used there? They are not just unintelligent, like crooked kind of people, right? So they'll speak all nonsense, right? But still, Lord Ramchandra, just to stop such rascals from, blaming or talking such nonsense in future, he actually gave up his consort Sita Devi, who was pregnant at the time. He sent Sita Devi into the forest to live in the ashram of Valmiki Muni. And while there, Sita Devi gave birth to twin sons, Lava and Kusha. And here in Ayodhya, Bharat also had two sons, Shatrughna had two sons, and Lakshman also had two sons. And in the forest, Valmiki Muni did all the samskaras. The birth ceremony was performed by Valmiki Muni. And then Sita Devi was unable to bear separation from Lord Ramchandra. So, giving the charge of her sons to Valmiki Muni, she entered the earth, unable to bear separation from Lord Ramchandra. Let's see what we read after that. Not sure. Text 17. Let's see what is 17. Yes. So then, after when Lord Ramchandra heard about Sita Devi's entering into the earth, he was grief stricken. Remembering her exalted qualities, he could not check the grief in transcendental love. So again, Srila Prabhupada in the purport explained, even grief is ecstasy on the transcendental platform. Not only grief, but even jealousy and anger also give great happiness, great ecstasy on the spiritual platform. So, therefore, what is the difference between attachment in the material world and attachment in the spiritual world? So, attachment means between man and woman specifically. Here, Lord Ramchandra is feeling separation from his consort, Sita Devi. So, in this material world also, there is attraction between male and female, there is attachment. In fact, the whole material world is running on this principle of attraction between male and female. And what is the result of this attraction? The result is fear. Fear and bondage. Bondage in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Sorry. So, yeah. But when there is attraction between male and female, of course, there's only one male in the spiritual world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, such attraction in the spiritual world does not result in fear. Why there is no fear? Because there is no birth, there is no death. So, there's no question of losing somebody. So, there's no fear and there is no bondage. So there's a gulf of difference between the love here and the love on the transcendental platform. So Lord Ramchandra's separation and grief in separation from Sita Devi is on the transcendental platform. So it's not to be compared with the so-called love in this world. Then text 16. Yeah, so today we have to do text 17. Or actually, we did 17 yesterday. Yeah, this 17 says the attraction between man and woman or male and female always exists everywhere, making everyone always fearful. Such feelings are present even among the controllers like Brahma and Lord Shiva and is the cause of fear for them. What to speak of ordinary people, even the controllers of the universe like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva also fall victim. So we discussed that, how Lord Brahma once fell victim to lust by seeing his own daughter. And Lord Shiva also became a victim of this attraction to the opposite sex when he saw Mohini Murti. So, even if such great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva can fall for this attraction between male and female, then who are we, right? So, then what to speak of others who are attached to household life in this material world? So, this attraction between man and woman is found everywhere and it is the cause of fear. Yeah, so we discussed that. Now, the next verse, I think Rasapriya is supposed to read. तथा ऊर्ध्वं ब्रह्मचर्यं धार्यन् अजुहोत् प्रभुः त्रयोदशाब्दसाहस्रम् अग्निहोत्रम् अखण्डितम्.
After Mother Sita entered the earth, Lord Ramchandra observed complete celibacy and performed an uninterrupted Agnihotra Yajna for 13,000 years.
Yes, actually, after yesterday's discussion, I was contemplating on that, what Aditi Lata Mataji said, because the reason why Lord Ramchandra sent Sita Devi to forest is to set the right example so that nobody may point fingers at the Raghuvamsa, the kings of the Raghuvamsa, right, that they didn't do their duty properly or they deviated from Dharma. So then the question was, so if Lord Ramchandra allowed Sita Devi, and why? Because they didn't see Sita Devi go through that Agni Pariksha, right? Getting tested in fire. That was done in Sri Lanka. Nobody had seen it. So they are accepting on in good faith that Lord Ramchandra said that she went through the Agni Pariksha and they accepted that. But they haven't seen it. So that's why people were talking, even though they didn't have the guts to come and speak in front, but they were talking behind. So the question raised was, so that in future others may not, taking example of Lord Ramchandra, oh, Lord Ramchandra did this, so we will also do, right? So, or the wives may say, right, Lord Ramchandra accepted, so you have to accept me, even though she may be corrupt. So now the question was, no, but then the men will make this excuse, right? They don't like their wives, so they'll just say, they'll just blame her for no reason. Oh, you went to another man's house, so I'm rejecting you because this is dharma, I cannot accept. Lord Ramchandra rejected Sita Devi, so I'm rejecting you. Like that they may say. So this statement, this next verse is the answer. After sending Sita Devi to the forest for 13,000 years, right? Practically for the rest of his earthly pastimes, for the rest of his life, Lord Ramchandra never married. Not only that, as a king, as a grihastha, and as a kshatriya, as a king, he was performing yagyas. Yagyas must be performed. Who performs yagyas? The kings, right? They perform, and they must do it along with their wife. So Lord Ramchandra was suggested that you cannot do yagya without a wife, so you must accept another wife. Now that your consort is not here, you should accept another wife so that you can perform your duties. Then so Lord Ramchandra, you know what he did? He made Sita Devi, a deity of Sita Devi made with gold. So every time he would have a yagya, he would have a golden Sita Devi sit next to him. So, yeah, if somebody wants to follow in the footsteps of Lord Ramchandra, then they should follow everything that he did. He fought a battle, not that, oh, you were in another man's house, you were kidnapped, right? Another point was sometimes it is not the woman's fault, and she is forcibly taken by someone, and then if the husband does not accept her back, then what will happen to her? Even Sita Devi was forcibly taken. Did Lord Ramchandra say that, oh, you were taken forcibly by another man, so I have nothing to do with you, now you go to hell? Did he say that? Lord Ramchandra fought a war to release, to protect Sita Devi. So nobody will dare to, say that Lord Ramchandra did this, so I will do that. The whole, world will come crushing down on his head. He won't be able to answer the points, the questions. He will, he has to give full protection to his wife. He cannot get away from that responsibility, right? So anyway, that was just an additional point. So, so after Sita Devi entered into the earth, Lord Ramchandra remained a celibate. He didn't marry again. And he performed an uninterrupted yagya. Uninterrupted means the fire is going on continuously, never put out. For how long? 24 hours? 1 year? 13,000 years continuously. Yagya was going on. Right? We heard that Lord Ramchandra was performing so many yagyas and giving all the kingdom in charity to the Brahmanas. So, Smaratam Hridi Vinyasya Vidham Dandaka Kantakaihi Swapada Pallavam Rama Atma Jyotir Agatataha. Sonia Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Mataji, what is the verse number? 19.
Yes.
Okay. After completing the sacrifice, Lord Ramachandra, whose lotus feet were sometimes pierced by the thorns, when he lived in the Dandakaranya, placed those lotus feet in the hearts of those who always think of him. Then he entered his own abode, the Vaikuntha planet, beyond the Brahmajyoti.
So in this way, Hare Krishna Mataji, in this way Lord Ramchandra ruled for 13,000 years and he performed a continuous yagya for 13,000 years. And after the completion of that sacrifice, after 13,000 years, Lord Ramchandra placed his lotus feet in the hearts of those who always think of him. That means physically he was going to be unmanifest. Now he will not be seen physically. This is a very special opportunity when the Lord comes. Actually, the Lord's pastimes are Nitya Leela. Nitya Leela means they are happening continuously. The Lord's pastimes are happening continuously. Those who are those who have entered those pastimes, they are able to see these pastimes happen continuously, right? But ordinary people cannot see. But when the Lord appears, even ordinary people are able to see him. That is the special prerogative which is given to everyone. When the Lord appears, when he advents on this earth, everyone is able to see him. Even the envious people are able to see him. But when he disappears, only those, what is that verse? Advaitamachyutamanadi mananta rupam Adyam Purana Purusham na Vayovanam cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau. So those who are Atma Bhaktas, that means those are devotees of the Supreme Lord, pure devotees of the Lord. They are able to see the Lord always within their hearts. Also, Premanjanachurita Bhakti Vilochanena Yamshama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam. Right? How does it go? Premanjanachurita Bhakti Vilochanena Santah Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Santah sadaiva hridayeshu, within their heart, vilokayanti. So, Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam. They are able to see, otherwise it is Achintya. This form cannot be understood by anyone. But those who are pure devotees of the Lord, whose eyes are decorated with the ointment of love, they are always seeing the Lord within their hearts. That means when the Lord's manifest pastimes are finished, that means He is not manifesting His pastimes on this earth. When He disappears from this earth, the pure devotees are always seeing Him within their hearts. So that is said here that Lord Ramchandra, after 13,000 years, he left the earth, right? He left the earth means his manifest pastimes. He wound up his manifest pastimes, but he placed his lotus feet in the hearts of those who are always thinking of him. That means his pure devotees are still able to see him within their hearts, but from the vision of everyone else in this world, the Lord was unmanifest. Like that. So after completing the sacrifice, Lord Ramchandra, whose lotus feet were sometimes pierced by thorns when he lived in Dandakaranya. So the same lotus feet which were pierced by thorns sometimes when he was walking in the Dandakaranya forest, those lotus feet the Lord placed in the hearts of those who always think of him. Then he entered his own abode, the Vaikuntha planet beyond the Brahmajyoti. So Lord Ramachandra lives in the planet Ayodhya, right, which is beyond even Vaikuntha actually. So the Lord entered there. Lord Ramchandra entered. Purport. So Lokesh. Are you reading? Lokesh.
Sorry, Mataji. Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Purport.
The lotus feet of the Lord are always a subject matter of meditation for devotees. Sometimes the Lord Ramachandra wanders in the forest of Dandakaranya. Thorns prick his lotus feet. The devotees, on thinking this, would faint. The Lord does not feel pain or pleasure from any action or reaction of this material world, but the devotees cannot tolerate even the pricking of the Lord's lotus feet by a thorn. This was the attitude of the gopis when they thought of Krishna wandering in the forest. Pebbles and grains of sand pricking his lotus feet. This tribulation in the heart of a devotee cannot be understood by karmis, gyanis, or yogis. The devotees who could not tolerate even thinking of the Lord's lotus feet being pricked by a thorn were again put into tribulation by thinking of the Lord's disappearance. For the Lord had to return to his abode after finishing his pastimes in the material world. The word Atmajoti is significant. The Brahmajoti, which is greatly appreciated by Gyanis or monistic philosophers who desire to enter it for liberation, is nothing but the rays of the Lord's body. Yes,
Mataji can read. Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
यस्य प्रभवतो जगदण्डकोटिस्वशेषपशुतादिविभूतिभिन्नं तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमनन्तमशेषभूतं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. Brahma Samhita 540. The Brahma Jyoti is the beginning of the spiritual world, and beyond the Brahma Jyoti are the Vaikuntha planets.
In other words, the Brahmajyoti stays outside the Vaikuntha planets just as the sunshine stays outside the sun. To enter the sun planet, one must go through the sunshine. Similarly, when the Lord or his devotees enter the Vaikuntha planets, they go through the Brahmajyoti. The Gyanis or monastic philosophers, because of their impersonal conceptions of the Lord, cannot enter the Vaikuntha planets, but they also cannot stay eternally in the Brahmajyoti. Thus, after some time, they fall again to this material world. Aruhya krichrena param padam tatah padanti adho anantra yushmat angrayaha. Bhagavatam 10-32. The Vaikuntha planets are covered by the Brahma Jyoti, and therefore one cannot properly understand what those Vaikuntha planets are unless one is a pure devotee. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so about first point is about the devotees, how Lord Ramchandra's lotus feet were pricked by thorns, and now the same lotus feet were placed in the hearts of the devotees. So the way Srila Prabhupada is explaining this is, when the lotus feet of the Lord are pricked by thorns or pebbles, it is unbearable. That pain is intolerable for the devotees. Just thinking that the soft feet of the Lord are pricked by thorns, it's unbearable. It's too painful for the devotees. So when the Lord was present, in their hearts, they were feeling this pain, that he is wandering in the forest for 14 years. His soft lotus feet are being pricked by thorns and pebbles. So they endured that pain. And when the Lord disappeared, they still endured the pain in their heart. So the Lord placed those lotus feet in their hearts. Srila Prabhupada is explaining this, that when the Lord was present, then also in their hearts they were experiencing pain, thinking of his lotus feet being pricked by thorns. And after the Lord disappeared from this world, that pain was still there in their heart now, because the Lord has disappeared. He is not there. So they're still in pain. Of course, as we discussed earlier, this pain of the devotees is actually an ecstasy. It's the greatest ecstasy. Even grief gives transcendental pleasure. On the spiritual platform, even grief gives bliss. Right? Jealousy gives bliss. Anger gives bliss on the transcendental platform. So, devotees were going through this pain. Another important point is, this pain of the devotees cannot be understood by jnanis, karmis, or yogis. Karmis, jnanis, or yogis cannot understand what is the pain that a devotee is experiencing in his heart, thinking about the thorns pricking the lotus feet of the Lord. That what is going on in the devotee's heart, this cannot be understood by anyone other than a devotee. That was one point. The second point is, Lord Ramchandra, after 13,000 years, after completing the sacrifice, entered into the Vaikuntha planet. So here on this point, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Lord entered into the Vaikuntha planets. Who can enter into the Vaikuntha planets? Of course, the Lord is there. Only his devotees can enter into the Vaikuntha planets. Others cannot enter. Only devotees can enter. Those who are yogis and jnanis, of course, yogis, if they are using the yoga as a means of devotional service, then they can also enter. They can also enter. They can get different types of liberation. So when you enter into the Vaikuntha planet, actually there are different types of, one can enter Vaikuntha simply getting liberation, right? Liberation means not merging. Merging also, those who merge into the body of the Lord, that's also one type of, but they don't maintain their separate identity, they just go and merge. But there are 4 other types of liberation, right? Salokya, Samipya, Sarshti, Sarupya. That means getting the same form as the Lord, going to the same planet as the Lord, getting the same opulence as the Lord, or living in proximity, right, to the Lord. So these are all different types of liberation. But getting these 4 types of liberation does not mean that you are actually getting service, devotional service. No. You're just there, right? Like a spectator, you're just watching. But you don't get service to the Lord. So that way, some people can enter. So, a real liberation, Srila Prabhupada says this elsewhere. What is liberation? Liberation means getting devotional service. That is actually liberation. That is the ultimate liberation. When you get love of Godhead, and then by that you are engaged in loving devotional service, that is the ultimate liberation. So, only devotees can get that. Devotional service can be gotten only by devotees, not by anyone else. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, outside the planet there is the effulgence, Brahmajyoti. All planets are self-luminous, spiritual planets. Vaikunthas, they are self-luminous, self-effulgent. And what is that effulgence? That effulgence is the effulgence emanating from the body of the Supreme Lord. So Brahma Jyoti. So those who are impersonalists, they go into Brahma Jyoti and merge there. So they don't have access to the Vaikuntha planets. The Lord entered into Vaikuntha planet, it is said. So the devotees of the Lord can also enter into Vaikuntha planet. But before entering into the planet, they also go through Brahma Jyoti. Srila Prabhupada is saying. Whereas the Gyanis, they go into Brahma Jyoti and they just stop there. Right? They don't have access to the Vaikuntha planets because their understanding of the absolute truth is it's impersonal. So they cannot see, they don't have access to the Vaikuntha planets. And another point Srila Prabhupada is saying is staying in Brahma Jyoti is not a permanent situation, right? After a long time, they actually come back because, it's like Srila Prabhupada gives this example of an airplane, right? You can go into the sky in an airplane and you have a lot of fuel and then you just keep going around. But for how long will you go around? As long as there is fuel in your airplane. Once you run out of fuel, then you have to come back. So how long can you just be roaming in the sky? You need to get shelter in some planet, then you can stay. Similarly, going into Brahmajyoti is like that. Srila Prabhupada is saying that unless one gets shelter in the planets, one of the spiritual planets, they will come back to the material world like that. Eventually. But for a very long time, they stay there in Brahmajyoti. That's why devotees consider this merging to be hellish because for a long time they're just there with no reciprocation with the Lord. Okay? After completing the okay, we read that. Okay, I discussed everything. Aruhya krichrena param padam tataha patantyadho nadrita yushmad angrayah. The Vaikuntha planets are covered by the Brahmajyoti and therefore one cannot properly understand what those Vaikuntha planets are unless one is a pure devotee. See, Srila Prabhupada is saying here that the Gyanis or monistic philosophers, because of their impersonal conception of the Lord, cannot enter the Vaikuntha planets, but they also cannot stay eternally in the Brahmajyoti. They cannot stay eternally in the Brahmajyoti. After some time, they fall again to this material world. Okay? Next. So, after Lokesh, Meda and Usha Mataji, you're able to read? Nedam yasho raghupate surayachnayata Leela tanor adhikasamya vimukta dhamnaha रक्षो वधो जलधि बन्धनमस्त्रपूगैः किं तस्य शत्रुहनने कपयः सहायाः. Medha and Usha Mataji,
Hare
you're
Krishna,
able to
Mataji. Yeah, I can read Mataji, but Medha went to school.
translation.
Lord Ramchandra's reputation for having killed Ravana with showers of arrows at the request of the demigods and for having built a bridge over the ocean does not constitute the factual glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramchandra, whose spiritual body is always engaged in various pastimes. Lord Ramchandra has no equal or superior, and therefore he had no need to take help from the monkeys to gain victory over Ravana.
So we may say, oh, Lord Ramchandra is great because he killed Ravana, right? Ravana, my God, the 10-headed Rakshasa who conquered all planets practically. Everyone used to fear. He even fought with Yamaraj. But Lord Ramchandra killed that Ravana. Oh, he's great. Or you may say, Lord Ramchandra built a bridge on the ocean. Who can build a bridge on the ocean? He built a, wow, he's great. You may say. But here Sukadev Goswami is saying, that's not very wonderful for him. Building a bridge on the ocean or killing Ravana with a shower of arrows, that's not actually the glorification of the Lord. These things can even be done by his energy. So he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, the translation says, Lord Ramchandra's reputation for having killed Ravana with showers of arrows at the request of the demigods and for having built a bridge over the ocean does not constitute the factual glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramchandra, whose spiritual body is always engaged in various pastimes. Okay. So what is the glory of Lord Ramchandra? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is known for his various wonderful pastimes. There is no one, so you cannot compare the Lord with anyone because he is Asamaurdhva. Asamaurdhva means Asama and Urdhva. Sama means there is no one equal to him. Urdhva means there is no one superior to him. And therefore he had no need to take help from the monkeys to gain victory over Ravana. Also, oh Lord Ramchandra got help from the monkeys. That's how he was able to defeat Ravana. He didn't need any help from anyone. This is just a pastime. And also the Lord's reciprocation with his devotees, the Vanaras. But actually, he doesn't need anyone's help because he is self-sufficient, right? Purport. So after Usha Mataji, Priyanka Haripriya, no, actually, and Narsimalila Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Purport.
As stated in the Vedas,
Svetashvatara Upanishad.
Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.8 Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate natat samaschabhya dikshascha drishyate parasya shakter vivid दैवी श्रूयते स्वभाविकी ज्ञानभालक्रिया च. The Supreme Lord has nothing to do, and no one is found to be equal to or greater than him, for everything is done naturally and systematically by his multifarious energies. The Lord has nothing to do, natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Whatever he does, his pastime. The Lord has no duty to perform to oblige anyone. Nonetheless, he appears to act to protect his devotees or kill his enemies. Of course, no one can be the Lord's enemy, since who could be more powerful than Lord? There is actually no question of anyone's being his enemy. But when the Lord wants to take pleasure in pastimes, he comes down to this material world and acts like a human being, thus showing his wonderful, glorious activities to please the devotees. His devotees always want to see the Lord victorious and varied activities, and therefore, to please himself and them, the Lord sometimes agree to act as a human being and perform wonderful, uncommon pastimes for the satisfaction of the devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So, natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Karyam means duty. The Lord has no duty, right? We have duties, right? Varnashrama dharma, right? If you are Brahmana, these are your duties. If you are Kshatriya, these are your duties, like that. And you have to carry out those duties. If you don't carry out your duties, then you'll get a sinful reaction. You must do your duty. We have karyam. But Krishna, natasya karyam, he has no duty to perform. He is not obliged to do anything. He has no duty. Karanam, he also does not have senses, material senses like us, right? He doesn't have material senses like we do. So he doesn't have any desires also like us, material desires. He doesn't do something. When we do something, we do it for a purpose, right? We do something to achieve some result. The Lord doesn't do anything to. In Bhagavad Gita also there is a verse, third chapter, that uh, the Lord says, there is nothing that I want. So when I do something, I'm not doing because I'm in need of something or I want something. The Lord doesn't do for that purpose. But still we see here, he's fighting, he's building a bridge, he's fighting a war. If he has no duty, then why he is doing all these things? What is the purpose? There's only one purpose. Actually, even if he had to accomplish those things for the maintenance of this universe, let's say, he doesn't have to do. But let's say for the maintenance of this universe, there's a Rakshasa who's disturbing the whole universe, all the demigods, and that Rakshasa needs to be killed. Does the Lord need to personally come to kill that demon? No need. He can simply send one of his servants and they can do the job. Or even just the material nature can just send one tornado or send one tsunami and finished, right? They will be finished. Then why the Lord comes? What is the purpose? He doesn't need to come. He has no duty. And he has so many servants who can carry out the maintenance of this universe. Why does he come? He comes to, whatever he does is his pastime. What is a pastime? Pastime is, you can say, a play. Pastime means it's like a play. Like children, they play, right? Because why do they play so many different games? It gives them pleasure. They play because that play gives them pleasure. Anandamayo bhyasat. We are all pleasure seekers, even the Supreme Lord. But the only difference is he is Atma Rama. He gets his pleasure from within himself. He doesn't have to go outside for that pleasure. So he performs pastimes for pleasure, for his own pleasure and also for the pleasure of the devotees. What is the pleasure of the devotees? The devotees love the Lord, right? When you love somebody, you take great pleasure in seeing your beloved happy, or in your seeing your beloved achieve something wonderful, right? Or win something, right? You become very happy. Let's say you're a parent and you love your child, and let's say there's a competition in school and your child comes first. Doesn't that give you pleasure? Because you love your child. That's why if your child comes first, it gives you great pleasure, right? Like that. So devotees love the Supreme Lord, and when the Lord fights a battle and he defeats the enemy, or he does some wonderful activity like builds a bridge, the stones are floating on the ocean, stones, rocks, right? Big, big boulders, they are floating on the ocean. Wow. So it gives them great pleasure. So the Lord performs wonderful activities for his own pleasure. And what is his pleasure? His pleasure is in reciprocating with his devotees. And the devotees are also getting great pleasure seeing the Lord enjoy, seeing the Lord uh, perform wonderful activities. So he does these things as a pastime, as a play, not because he needs to do it, not because the work needs to be done. No. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. So therefore, to say that Lord Ramchandra built a bridge on the ocean, Lord Ramchandra killed Ravana, therefore he is glorious, this is not really the glory, right? What is the glory of the Lord? The glory of the Lord is that he loves his devotees and he performs pastimes to reciprocate with the love of his devotees. That is his glory. And then another point, yeah, so in the same lines, why the Lord has nothing to do. Natat samascha bhyadikascha drishyate. So again, asamaurdhva means sama means same and adhika means superior. There's no one equal to him and no one superior to him. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. Parasya Shaktir. He has so many energies, a variety of energy. Vividha, many, many types of energies. These energies can carry out all the activities for him. He doesn't have to come down to do anything. Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. The Supreme Lord has nothing to do. No one is found to be equal to or greater than him. For everything is done naturally and systematically by his multifarious energies. That's the thing. He has nothing to do. Whatever he does is his pastime. He has no duty to perform to oblige anyone. Still, he appears to act, to protect his devotees or kill his enemies. But even that also, he doesn't have to do. Then why he does? Because he wants to reciprocate as a pastime for his pleasure and also to give pleasure to the devotees. So he sometimes acts as a human being and performs wonderful, uncommon pastimes to give pleasure to the devotees. So, who read just now? Narsimha Leela Chaitanya Prabhu read. Prabhuji, others are there?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay, you are there. Okay, 1 second. Let me see. Okay, go ahead. Yasyaamalam nripasadah suyashodhunapi gayantyagah gnam rishayodhigibhendra pattam tamna kapala vasupala kirita jushta padambujam raghupatim sharanam prapadye. Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. Lord Ramachandra's spotless name and fame, which vanquish all sinful reactions are celebrated in the directions like the ornamental cloth of victorious elephants that conquer all directions. Great saintly persons like
Markandeya
Markandeya Rishi still glorify his characteristics in the assemblies of the great emperors like Maharaj Yudhishthir. Similarly, all the saintly kings and all the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, worship the Lord by bowing down with their helmets. Let me offer my obeisances to his lotus feet. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. This is Purti or Suhrit?
Yes, Mataji. Spurti Mataji.
Wow. You're reading like Suhrid now. Very nice. Lord Ramchandra's spotless name and fame, which vanquish all sinful reactions. Lord Ramchandra's spotless name and fame, which vanquish all sinful reactions, are celebrated in all directions. So simply by hearing the name of the Lord, hearing about the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra, one overcomes, one removes all his sinful reactions. And such pastimes of the Lord, such names of the Lord are celebrated in all directions, like the ornamental cloth of the victorious elephant that conquers all directions. You know, when we have this Hathi procession, elephant procession here in Mayapur, the elephant is dressed, decorated nicely with an ornamental cloth, and then on the back of the elephant, Radha Madhav will ride. So, ornamental cloth. So, the name and fame of Lord Ramchandra are celebrated in all directions, like the ornamental cloth of the victorious elephant that conquers all directions. Great saintly persons, like that means they are an ornament, right? These pastimes and names of the Lord are an ornament that decorate all directions. Great saintly persons like Markandeya Rishi still glorify his characteristics in the assemblies of great emperors like Maharaj Yudhishthir. Yes. So Yudhishthir Maharaj came in Dwapar Yuga, Lord Ramchandra in Treta Yuga. So Lord Ramchandra's pastimes are glorified by great saintly persons. Who's Markandeya Rishi? Markandeya Rishi, he got this benediction that he will be living even for kalpas together, he's still living. So he was there at the time of Lord Ramchandra, he was also there at the time of Lord Krishna. So Markandeya Rishi, after seeing Lord Ramchandra's pastimes, now he is glorifying Lord Ramchandra's pastimes in Yudhishthir Maharaj's assembly. Similarly, all the saintly kings and all the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, worship the Lord by bowing down with their helmets. So this is the greatness of the Supreme Lord. Even great personalities, great sages, great kings, they all bow down of the Lord, and his names and his qualities, his pastimes are all auspicious. They remove all sins in all directions. Let me offer my obeisances unto his lotus feet. Who's saying this? Sukadev Goswami. Okay, I think we'll stop here. It's already time. So, Prabhuji and Spurti read today. Tomorrow, Suhrid and Suvarnangi Shama Mataji will read. And then, if they are not there, then Nilambari Mataji will read tomorrow. Okay. Now let us read Bhagavad Gita. One second, Mother. So let's read Bhagavad Gita and then Lilamrita. Introduction of Bhagavad Gita, continuation. Yes, so the point is how to go to that spiritual world, to the planet of the supreme, in the spiritual sky, to enter into the planets in the spiritual sky. That is also given in Bhagavad Gita. How can you go there? If you can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the time of death, then you can enter. In life, we are accustomed to thinking either of the material or of the spiritual energy. Yes, that also we discussed yesterday. So then how can you remember Krishna at the time of death? So if at the time of death, if you're absorbed in material energy, then you'll take birth in the material world. At the time of death, if you're absorbed in the spiritual energy, then you'll go to the spiritual planet. And further, it will be explained what you think of throughout your life, that's what you're going to be thinking of at the time of death. If you're absorbed in material thoughts throughout your life, then at the time of death also you'll be absorbed in material thoughts, which will force you to take birth in the material world. But if throughout your life, if you are absorbed in topics about the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual energy, then at the time of death, you will be absorbed in the spiritual energy. So you'll go to the spirit, you'll take birth in the spiritual world. In life, we are accustomed to thinking either of the material or of the spiritual energy. Now, how can we transfer our thoughts from the material energy to the spiritual energy? This is the next question. So, we are accustomed to thinking of all day long, we are dealing with material energy. How can we transfer our thoughts from the material energy to the spiritual energy? There are so many literatures which fill our thoughts with the material energy, like newspapers, magazines, novels, right? Now, phones, internet, right? WhatsApp. So, our thinking, which is now absorbed in these literatures, must be transferred to the Vedic literatures. The great sages, therefore, have written so many Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas. The Puranas are not imaginative, they are historical records. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 20, text 122, there is the following verse Maya Mugdha Jivera Nahi Swatah Krishna Gyan Jivere Kripaya Koila Krishna Veda Puran. So, the forgetful living entities are conditioned souls. The forgetful living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord and they are engrossed in thinking of material activities. Just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky, to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa has given a great number of Vedic literatures. First, he divided the Vedas into 4, then he explained them in the Puranas, and for less capable people, he wrote the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is given the Bhagavad Gita. Then all Vedic literature is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra. And for future guidance, he gave a natural commentation on the Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate. You know why? So actually, there is it's the highest, it's the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic literature. So first of all, the Vedas, we have the 4 Vedas. The Vedas are the ultimate authority. Okay? How they are the ultimate authority? They are not written by any human being. And you will find all knowledge in the Vedas, anything, you name it, whether about all dealings in this world and outside this world, material and spiritual world. Every type of knowledge is there in the Vedas. For every type of person, for all types of people, it is there in the Vedas. When you say Vedas, Vedas include the Puranas also. So originally there was only one Veda called the Yajur Veda, and then it was Vyasdev who divided the Vedas into 4, actually 5. So you have, the Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda. That means he took portions of that Yajur Veda and he named it as Rig Veda. And one portion he named it as Sam Veda. Another one as Atharva Veda. And another one as some of the Yajur Veda mantras he left and he called it Yajur Veda. And still within that original Yajur Veda, there were all these Puranas, histories, and that became the 5th Veda. Who did this? Vyasdev did this. So, first of all, the Vedas are there, but how do we access the Vedas? We know there are 4 Vedas and the Puranas, Itihasas, but we don't have all the mantras of the Vedas available now. Then the Puranas are available. The Puranas are available. All the Puranas are available. And the Puranas are also from the original Veda. They are also not written by any human being. Therefore, now we will accept the Puranas as the authority. But again, within the Puranas, you have 18 Puranas. They are divided into 3 categories. Puranas in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance. That means those Puranas that are meant for people in goodness, those that are meant for people in passion, those that are meant for people in ignorance. Puranas meant for people in ignorance means those Puranas will recommend worshipping certain demigods, like worship goddess Kali, for example, or worship your ancestors, like that. So again, Puranas in the mode of passion, they recommend worship of some other demigods. But the Puranas in the mode of goodness, they recommend worship of Lord Vishnu. So therefore, which Purana should we accept? We should only accept the Satvika Puranas. You have Satvika, Rajasika, Tamasika. That means goodness, passion and ignorance. You should only accept the Satvika Puranas. So of the 18, 6 are Satvika, 6 are Rajasika, 6 are Tamasika. So the 6 Satvika Puranas or Puranas in the mode of goodness, we will accept. Still there is a problem. Which one should you accept of these 6? Because some say Lord Vishnu is supreme, others say Lord Krishna is supreme. Now you have another problem. Who is the ultimate? Right? Which Purana should we accept? Of the 6 Satvika Puranas, there is Vishnu Purana, there is Srimad Bhagavatam, so many are there. Which one should we accept? Right? That is a question. Or we want one final answer. So then, of these 6 Puranas, now we will refer to the sages. What do the sages say? Do they recommend, if all the sages said this is the ultimate, then we'll accept their judgment. So we have 6 philosophies that are based on the Vedas. And then there are 6 sages who are like, you have Gautama, you have Kanada, right? You have Kapila, you have Patanjali, then you have Jaimini and Vyasadeva, 6 sages. Each one gave his own sutras. Like Gautama gave Nyaya Sutras, Kanada gave Vaisheshika Sutras, Kapila gave Sankhya Siddhanta, and Patanjali gave Yoga Sutras. Jaimini gave Karma Mimamsa, that means work is worship. And finally, Vyasadeva, he gave us the Brahma Sutras. So, which sage's conclusion should we accept as the ultimate? We should accept Vyasadeva. Why? Because Vyasadeva is directing us to the Paratattva. He's saying, like Jaimini says, work is worship. You work and you get wealth, and by that wealth you enjoy sense gratification. Again you work and then you get wealth and you enjoy sense gratification. But Vyasadeva says no. If you simply work and get sense gratification, you will simply be stuck in the cycle of birth and death. You should transcend. So therefore you should aim for the Paratattva. Paratattva means absolute truth who is beyond this material existence. Athato Brahma Jigyasa, that is Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra. So this is the chronology. First, the Vedas and Puranas are there. Puranas are there. After the Puranas, so in the Puranas you have the 6 Satvika Puranas. Then Mahabharata, so Vyasadeva. So we are accepting Vyasadev's authority. Why? Because it was Vyasadeva who originally he divided the Vedas into all these various categories. And he has given us the Brahma Sutras, Vedanta Sutras. The essence of the Vedas are given by Vyasadeva. So now we will accept Puranas. We want to accept the Puranas, but which Purana to accept? Which Purana should we accept? For that we should take Vyasadev's opinion. We should take Vyasadev's opinion. So Vyasadeva gave Puranas, and then he gave Mahabharata, and then he gave the Brahma Sutras. After giving Brahma Sutras, then he gave Srimad Bhagavatam again. Of the 18 Puranas, there was Srimad Bhagavatam, but that was a condensed form. It was not emphasizing bhakti. So that Srimad Bhagavatam is once again given in the form of a commentary on Brahma Sutras by Vyasadeva. This is the final, the topmost authority or evidence, pramana. So therefore Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of all the Vedic literature. Coming back to this introduction to this paragraph. Srila Prabhupada is saying why the Vedic literatures are given. Srila Vyasadeva, why he has given us to help the conditioned souls who have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord and who are now absorbed in activities of this material energy to transfer their thought from material activities or from material energy to spiritual energy. He has given us, Vyasadeva has given us the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Brahma Sutras, and finally a natural commentary. Natural commentary means the same author, just like you have uh, one, like Srila Rupa Goswami has given us Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And a commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is given by another Acharya, Jiva Goswami. So, commentary on, if the same author, the author himself gives a commentary on his work, that is called a natural commentary. So the author himself is giving a commentary of his work. Who would know better than the author? So the Vedanta Sutras commentary is Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is given by Vyasadeva himself. So it is called a natural commentary. And because this Srimad Bhagavatam comes after Vedanta Sutra, and it is still the Purana, original Purana, you understand? Because Puranas are not written by any human being, they are there from before. So therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam becomes the highest authority. We must always engage our minds in reading these Vedic literatures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what I was trying to come to, right? If you want to move your mind, your thoughts from material energy to spiritual energy, what should you do? You should always engage your mind in reading Srimad Bhagavatam, these Vedic literatures. Just as materialists engage their minds in reading newspapers, magazines, and so many materialistic literatures, and nowadays, right, watching movies and shorts and videos, right? We must transfer our reading to these literatures which are given to us by Vyasadeva. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. That is the only way suggested by the Lord, and He guarantees the result. There is no doubt. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mayarpita manobuddhir mame vaishyasi asamshayaha. Therefore, Arjun, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time continue your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. So what is the recommendation here, or what is the instruction here? That we must, so we are in the material world. We read about the material sky and the spiritual sky. Material sky means birth, death, old age, disease. Spiritual sky, in the spiritual sky there are spiritual planets. There is no suffering there, no birth, death, old age and disease. Life is eternal. You can live happily there forever. So we want to transfer ourselves to the spiritual world, live in the association of the Lord. How to go there? So if you are able to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death, then you can transfer to the spiritual world. How can you remember the Lord at the time of death? If your thoughts are absorbed in material energy, then at the time of death you'll be thinking about the material energy and you'll take birth again in this material world. But if your thoughts are always absorbed in the spiritual energy, then at the time of death also you will be thinking about the Supreme Lord, the spiritual energy, then you will be transferred to the spiritual world. So now the point is, how can we transfer our minds, our thoughts from material energy to spiritual energy? For that, Srila Vyasdev has given us so many Vedic literatures. The topmost, the essence of all that is Srimad Bhagavatam. If you absorb your mind in reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures given by Vyasdev, but if you simply read the Srimad Bhagavatam, right, the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, it is said that Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni krite kimma parairishwarah sadyo hridyavaruddhyatetra kritivi shushrushabis takshanam. That means, what is the need of any other literature? One line of that verse says, Kimva parairishwarah. Kimva parai, right? Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni krite Kimva parai. What is the use of any other book? If you have this one literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is sufficient. It is sufficient to get success. You don't need any other book. So if you simply absorb your mind in hearing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, then it is guaranteed that you can transfer yourself to the spiritual sky, to the spiritual planet, not just to the spiritual sky, but to the spiritual planet. That is the conclusion. That is why we read Srimad Bhagavatam every day, for this purpose, to transfer our thoughts, our minds to the spiritual sky, to the spiritual energy. Otherwise, all day long we are absorbed in the material energy. So many activities. Okay, I know we are way over time, but I'll just read one paragraph of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, please. Beta ruk jao. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. So we're just reading the diary of Srila Prabhupada, what's happening in New York. So this is February 5th, I think 1969. Discouragement came to the plans Srila Prabhupada had formed around the promise of support by Padampat Singhania. So Srila Prabhupada also wrote to his god brothers, right, to help get permission from the government to release the funds, the donations that this Padampat Singhania wanted to give, right? The government wouldn't allow. So if his god brothers could talk to the government and allow Padampat Singhania to give a donation so that Srila Prabhupada could build a temple in New York. But discouragement came to the plans Srila Prabhupada had formed around the promise of support by Padampat Singhania. The Dwaraka Wala wrote to express his dissatisfaction with the 72nd Street building. He expressed his dissatisfaction with the property that Srila Prabhupada wanted to buy for the temple. What did he say? I am afraid that I cannot agree with your suggestion that you should buy a small house and erect something on top of it. Unfortunately, such a kind of proposal will not suit me. The temple must be a small one, but it must be constructed properly. I quite agree that you cannot spend a lot of money at present, but within the amount the government may sanction, you should build something according to the architecture of Indian temples. Then only will we be able to create some impression on the American people. This is all I can write to you in this connection. I am very grateful for your taking the trouble of writing me. Prabhupada did not take this letter as final. He maintained hope that Sir Padampat Singhania would still give money for the temple if only the transfer of money could be arranged. He continued writing his god brothers and other devotees, asking them to try to secure the government's sanction. He maintained his same aspirations, even though his sole prospective donor had rejected his scheme of a chakra and dome atop a conventional two-story building. Right? He wanted a typical temple, the way it looks. February 15, he moved from room 501 downstairs 2 floors to a room all his own. Okay, 2 floors. to a room all his own. I have changed my room to room 307 in the same building as above mentioned for better air and light. It is on the roadside junction of two roads, the Columbus Avenue and 72nd Street. According to Dr. Mishra, Prabhupada moved in order to have his own place independent of the Mishra Yoga Society. So we will stop there. Thank you all so much for staying longer, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. All of you have a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. I will see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Mataji. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Mataji. Hare Krishna.